You press your thumb to the glass. The phone vibrates slightly, that familiar micro feeling of a machine coming alive in your hand. You watch the chat bubble icon start to jiggle, and you tap the tiny X in the corner, the app vanishes. You feel this sudden smug satisfaction washing over you, certain that your private conversations and your digital footprint inside that application are gone forever. You walk away completely unaware that the lock screen on that exact same phone is secretly hoarding all the receipts. We are tracking how the FBI managed to pull deleted, end-to-end encrypted signal messages straight from an iPhone's notification cache, pulling technical documentation and reporting from 404 Media, 9to5Mac, Lifehacker, and TechRadar.
Court documents confirm investigators utilized specialized forensic software to read the cached data directly from the device's internal memory. The extraction process entirely bypassed the need for the signal application to be installed. People assume the graphical interface and the underlying data are like the exact same entity.
The operating system treats them as completely separate jurisdictions. We see the specific real-world states of this technical blind spot by looking at the July protests at the ICE Prairieland Detention Facility in Alvarado, Texas. Protesters set off fireworks and vandalized the facility.
An officer was shot in the neck during the altercation.
Authorities charged people for alleged Antifa activities after President Trump designated the umbrella term a terrorist organization. To be impartial for our listeners, we are simply outlining the context of the trial from our sources here. We are taking no stance on and not endorsing any political designations. One of those defendants, Lynette Sharp, previously pleaded guilty to providing material support to terrorists. We flash forward to this trial.
FBI Special Agent Clark Waythorn takes the stand. He presents Exhibit 158. Signal had been completely deleted from Sharp's phone. The application did not exist on the device.
The FBI recovered the incoming messages anyway through Apple's internal notification storage. No outgoing messages were captured, they only got the incoming texts. Shredding a sensitive letter and throwing it in the trash means nothing when the mailman secretly photocopies the envelope and tapes it to your front door.
Servers use push notification tokens to identify where to send an alert. A token acts like a permanent mailing address assigned to a specific device for a specific app.
I'm stuck on the physical mechanics of this. How exactly does an operating system intercept messages for an app that no longer exists on the hard drive? The decryption key dies with the app.
These tokens remain active long after a user deletes an application. The server sitting in a data center lacks any awareness that the software is gone from your phone. It keeps firing alerts to that specific address.
Your iPhone receives the incoming packet, and the operating system takes over the delivery. Any app permitted to show lock screen previews saves those previews directly to the iPhone's internal memory.
The end-to-end encryption works flawlessly in transit. It scrambles the message into mathematical gibberish while it travels across the cellular network. The lock screen serves as the final destination where the text sits in plain text.
The encryption survives the entire journey across the internet just to get dumped into a readable text file the second it hits the phone.
Forensic extraction tools specifically target these vulnerable system states. An iPhone operates in before first unlock or after first unlock modes. The moment you type your passcode in the morning, the phone transitions into after first unlock.
The system assumes the authenticated owner is present and actively using the device. It caches vast amounts of information locally in the random access memory to keep everything instantly available.
You want your phone to show you a text the literal millisecond you pull it out of your pocket. That demand for immediate convenience forces the operating system to constantly write temporary files.
Law enforcement relies on commercially available forensic suites that exploit iOS vulnerabilities to dump this cached memory. They scrape the file system and reconstruct the digital timeline.
They map the exact seconds those messages hit the screen. They harvest the remnants of the operating system's desire to be helpful.
We have Apple heavily marketing privacy as a fundamental human right. They sell millions of devices based on the idea that what happens on your iPhone stays on your iPhone. Apple just altered how iOS validates push notification tokens in iOS 26.4.
The timing is highly conspicuous. We lack direct confirmation from Cupertino that this specific Texas trial triggered the software update.
The sequence of events points heavily toward a rapid patching of token validation protocols.
Software updates frequently serve as silent admissions of architectural failures. The delay in token invalidation created a massive forensic window.
When you uninstalled an application previously, the Apple push notification service maintained the routing table. It continued waking up the device hardware to deliver payloads for ghost applications.
The 26.4 update forces the operating system to actively communicate the deletion event back to the push servers. The routing gets severed faster, shrinking the forensic window.
I have to ask a pointed question here. Is mathematical encryption essentially useless if the operating system functions like a leaky sieve, just to save users the minor inconvenience of opening an app? We engineer these impenetrable cryptographic vaults to transport data securely across hostile networks.
The vulnerability thrives inside the convenience layer. Users demand immediate visibility. They want to glance at their glowing rectangle and read the incoming text without unlocking the device or launching the software.
The operating system accommodates that biological demand for immediate dopamine by creating a parallel ledger of information. The cryptographic math remains secure, but the behavioral implementation of that math fails completely.
These spend millions of dollars securing the transmission pipes. We install screen doors on the actual data vaults.
Signal is catching heavy fire for this notification leak right now, but rival messaging giants are currently fighting a public war over much larger structural vulnerabilities. We are watching billionaires trade insults over user privacy.
Telegram founder Pavel Durov publicly attacked WhatsApp, labeling their encryption the biggest consumer fraud in history. Durov alleges a backdoor allows Meta and third parties to bypass encryption entirely to read user messages.
He claims the entire architecture of the competing platform exists solely to harvest communication data for advertising profiles. WhatsApp fired back immediately, labeling the claim categorically false and absurd.
Telegram bleeds its own credibility simultaneously. Recent security flaws exposed user IP addresses during voice calls.
The messaging landscape resembles a hostile war zone. Users obsess over military-grade encryption algorithms while completely ignoring the corporate plumbing handling the message display.
You install a titanium vault door and leave the drywall intact. Intruders just kick through the drywall. The algorithm matters vastly less than the environment where the algorithm operates.
The forensic tools used in this Texas case did not break Signal's encryption. They did not need to crack the math. They just read the phone's diary.
Modern forensics relies entirely on the distinction between data in transit and data at rest. End-to-end encryption protects data in transit, preventing your cellular provider from reading the packets flying through the air.
Once the message lands on the device and triggers a visual notification, it becomes data at rest. Law enforcement tools target data at rest by dumping the physical memory of the device.
They scrape the cache files. The operating system continuously betrays the application's security model to prioritize a frictionless user experience.
Signal actually has a built-in defense mechanism to plug this hole. Users navigate to settings, tap notifications, and find notification content.
Selecting no name or content blocks all data to the alert. The phone will buzz and tell you a message arrived.
It will give the operating system absolutely nothing else to write down. The device remains blind to the payload.
Humans constantly negotiate with their own security limits. The application provides a middle ground for that negotiation where you can choose name only to see who is texting you.
That choice leaves a permanent breadcrumb for anyone scraping the device's internal memory. The forensic tool will record every person who contacted you, charting exactly when and how frequently they reached out.
Metadata paints a highly accurate picture of human relationships. Law enforcement often finds the metadata far more valuable than the actual message content.
Leaving name only active feels like having a ground floor apartment. The glass is locked and you are safe inside, but you still do not want strangers on the sidewalk watching you eat dinner.
You cut off the visual access entirely to protect the interior privacy. The notification settings serve as the digital blinds.
Apple designed Notification Center to be relentlessly persistent. Alerts stay visible on the screen until you manually interact with them.
That persistence requires dedicated local storage. The operating system writes the incoming text to a database file deep within the system architecture.
The user deletes the app. The user assumes the database file vanishes alongside the software icon. The architecture of the phone absorbs that database entirely as system property.
The application leaves. The history stays forever.
You deleted the app, you hid the lock screen notifications, you swept the digital floor clean, but what other background processes are running a secondary ledger of your daily habits right under the glass?
Bruh. Goodbye.